Yankees Files podcast, we are back with one of my favorite episodes of every year, the season preview. I'm Will Harris, your Steve Lombardozzi the younger.
Nice.
And the rest of you are fans of the only team that signed Ryan Yarbrough to a contract in the last few hours. That team is, of course, the New York Yankees. Steve, there's a ton to get into on this podcast. We have a lot of follower and listener questions. We have our awards. We have our bold predictions. We have our general thoughts on, our official thoughts on the season, as this is our season preview episode. But before all of that, how are you doing?
Doing good. I think the post Garrett Cole news, it's kind of worn off a little bit now. I'm feeling less less down about things, more just
less
positive.
Existential dread.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that this offseason. Just a lot of questioning the identity of what the Yankees are, who we should be as fans, stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of just be moving forward now. The season's going to start really soon, and I'm excited about a lot of the young players and a lot of the people they've brought in, and I'm really just optimistic right now. I'm feeling better now, even though nothing has tangibly changed except for Ryan Yarbrough, who that's fun. But I'm feeling good. How are you doing?
Steve, it's been a wild time in the life of Will Harris. But baseball will restore normalcy, and it'll be great to have something to, pay attention to day in and day out. I think that's one of the great things that baseball provides for us. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get into the season preview. I'm excited to start going to games again. I think April 1st is the first game that I have tickets to, and that's not a joke. Nice. So yeah, we're going to see what happens.
I just
shall we? Nice. Real good. Shall we get into
today.
The preview?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So this is your first season preview episode, the Yankees Files podcast, and I just want to dive right into awards and bold predictions, and I think that'll spring a lot of conversation about everything else that's going to go on around the team this year, that we expect to go on around the team this year. Our awards, there are 5 of them, unless I'm missing any. MVP, Cy Young, Reliever of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. Whipple and I occasionally had a breakout player, but with rookie and comeback, it's kind of gets redundant. So anyway, I think we both have the same MVP. We'd be shocked if it's not Aaron Judge, although you've talked about this being the Cody Bellinger propaganda episode. So if you want to surprise me right off the bat.
So on my list, I wrote Judge, but then in parentheses, I wrote Bellinger? ? So it's there, I don't believe that at all. But I don't think it's impossible, partially because, we can get into it, but I mean, Aaron Judge is probably, we said this already after 2022, but the odds he's going to repeat what he's been doing are probably slim. And that's not an indictment on him. It's just history would suggest that that's just not going to happen again. And, so if somebody else does have a big performance, it could overtake him. I think the odds are slim. But
so just by WAR, what do you think the odds are that there's another position player on this team who puts up more than 4.7 Fangraphs WAR, which is what Aaron Judge did in 106 games in 2023?
In 2023? The odds that somebody puts up more... I would say fairly high. I don't know. I would give it. I think either Jazz or Belly could do it. I do. I think one of them can do it.
Wow.
Yep. Somebody's going to do it. I just have it in my gut. There's no real brain activity going on with that take. But I just feel like somebody is going to have a big season that's not named Aaron Judge. I think he will also. But I think, someone's going to do it.
I think that would be really cool. But if you asked me to put a percentage on someone maybe not named Aaron Judge to have more than 4.7 Fangraphs WAR, I would say 10, 15.
I don't know, because when you think about if Cody Bellinger is playing center field every single day and he puts up like a 130 WRC plus, which is not, that'd be very good. We'd all be outstandingly happy with that.
That could be a 5 WAR season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I do think that could be an 85th or 90th percentile outcome.
Do you think it's that high? I think Bellinger in that stadium
I
swinging the
think
way
it
he
could be that
has.
high.
I don't know. Or Jazz, stealing 40 bases, playing really good defense at second base, hitting
Well, as
30
you
home runs.
know, stolen bases are an automatic WAR multiplier,
Automatic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as we
Just,
learned
yeah.
from the oracles of
I love John
baseball
Boy.
statistics.
Yes, yeah.
No, I do think that Bellinger and Jazz are both capable of that, but I think it would be, and this is hard because of how good Bellinger has been at times in the past, but like I do think it would be about as good as it could possibly get for either of those guys to do that, you know?
I guess. I think a weirdly a big part of it will come down to how good his defense is in center field. Something like that. You know what I mean? If he's giving you like really plus defense in center field with a 120,
That could
130.
be
And
super valuable.
I really don't think 120 or 130 WRC plus for Cody Bellinger is like, oh, that's like a 5 or 10% chance of happening. I think there's like a solid 30, 40% chance he does something like that. That
So
might not be statistically, but
this is actually something I wanted to get into because we got a question from, I want to make sure I shout out the right person. I think it was Danny. Yes, Danny Papa _ Jazz 13 on Twitter. He said, when Rizzo was traded here, we saw a bit of a boost with him putting the ball in the air at an increased rate in a stadium that was more beneficial to it. Do you think Bellinger, a guy who already does that, could see a similar boost since he's going from Wrigley to Yankee Stadium? My concern, I think absolutely the balls that Cody Bellinger hits in the air are going to fare better at Yankee Stadium, particularly the ones he pulls, than they did at Wrigley Field. No doubt about it, absolutely. My concern about Cody Bellinger, and he has already mitigated this a little bit with swinging harder and hitting the ball harder in spring training. My concern about Cody Bellinger is so much of his last 2 years, so much of the success of his last 2 years has been based on ball in play, getting good results.
it is
And
true.
Yankee Stadium is so bad for that.
Very bad for that.
left-handed hitters. And I don't know which effect is going to be larger and how he's going to use his approach to influence those effects of the benefit of going to Yankee Stadium and what that does for when he hits the ball in the air versus the downside of going to Yankee Stadium and what that does for when he doesn't hit the ball over the fence.
No, I agree with that. It's impossible to know, obviously. And it's extra confused by the fact that his whole career trajectory is just very confusing in terms of is it even worth looking back at what he did from 2017 to 2019? I don't know. I mean, but
Hope so.
He's not even 30 yet. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's a crazy that we can already say he's been two separate players in one career and he's not even 30.
Yeah.
And there
Shout
are
out to my dad who was calling him an aging player
yeah.
and all of that. Yeah.
I also, to your dad's point, I'm very conscientious right now about my laugh. So I'm very concerned that I sound like Seth Rogen now. So I'm going to really watch myself on that.
Self-conscious Steve.
Yes. I lost my train of thought now. Now I don't know what to say. But
it was about Cody Bellinger's two separate careers, despite
two separate
being
careers.
29.
Yeah, so it's hard to project exactly what he's going to do. And again, there's not enough. We'll have to see it play out. It's just my gut. I'm just doing a gut thing right now, and I feel like based on the way he's been swinging in spring training, I don't care about the results. I know the results have been amazing for him in spring training, but it's just the fact that he is swinging the bat harder and hitting the ball harder accordingly.
Yeah,
and he's still doing it in the air, and that's what we want to see. I know, like, one of the most popular videos was his 2-strike approach video thing that, like, I don't care about that so much. But
that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine sometimes. I think we maybe get a little too hard on it. But yeah, ultimately, yes, I do want you to still be taking your A swing with 2 strikes, especially if you're Cody Bellinger in Yankee Stadium. Absolutely.
Exactly.
But
which is something I think Jazz does pretty well, by the way. That's just an aside, but
Jazz always goes for the big swing. Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. But yeah, there's no answers. We're just going to have to see it play out. There's just not enough data to look back on to really say that much. The last 2 years, Cody Bellinger, I don't know. There's enough reason to question that they're not actually him and that he might be something more. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Who's your Cy Young pick?
Max Fried. You could go Rodon.
I picked Chuck Rodon.
I respect it. He did this last year in spring training, but I don't like the low velo in spring training. I know it's spring, but I've just seen it too many times with that low velo, and they always say, "Oh, it'll be there," and then it doesn't
Yeah,
end up being there.
I don't like it either. But what I do like is everything he did from basically like the moment the calendar flipped to August last year on. And that pitch mix, again, velocity is a big part of his game. So like if that's not there, he's in big trouble. Absolutely. But I think his ceiling is higher than Fried's, which is crazy to say when Fried in the last 3 years or 4 years has like an ERA beginning with 2 or something.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that the version of Carlos Rodon, I don't think the version of Carlos Rodon that strikes out like almost 13 per 9 and doesn't walk that many is totally gone. And I think that guy is like a Cy Young vote getter for sure.
Sure.
And I think, you know, with Max Fried, you run a similar injury risk to the risk that you run with Rodon. And he's not as electric and just doesn't make me as excited. So this is kind of like picking your favorite team to win in your bracket because it's something you want to happen. But I definitely do. I think he's capable of it, and it's the outcome I'm rooting for.
I think he's capable of it. I don't know if that we've never really truly gotten to see the Rodon that was, you know, the guy that we signed. We really haven't. Even if you want to say they were like results based last year at the end of the year, he's did not pitch the way he did then. Now we're saying, oh, he has to incorporate this changeup more. That'll make him good. He didn't throw the damn changeup when he was at his best, like his platform years that got him there.
So that's true, but he was in the same like strikeout and walk territory.
Sure. But it's telling, right, that he can't pitch the same way he did then. Why? That just generally concerns me.
Maybe because he doesn't get to face the Rockies a bunch of times a year. I don't know.
I mean, he did it with the White Sox though too, right? I mean, he was similarly good.
That's true, but I wouldn't write home about any of those offenses either.
No, and in bigger parks, stuff like that. Like I get it, but you're just looking at the batted ball data off. I mean, he gets barreled more. He gets less whiffs. You know, I mean, even though he still gets good, you know, numbers on those. His fastball doesn't play like it used to, and it's kind of confusing because the characteristics are still similar. Yeah, but he just doesn't get the same results as he was. And so I don't know, until that changes, I'm not sure. And the way that it's been really interesting with Max Fried, and the way that Matt Blake was talking about how the Braves don't have the same pitching infrastructure and pitching technology that the Yankees have, and how they're really interested to get him in there and start showing them some of the tech things that they have that he'd never seen before. And so that really is fascinating to me.
It's extra crazy when the Braves are like, yeah, sure, we have like, you know, Max Fried and Spencer Strider and Spencer Schwellenbach and, you know, all these guys, and we turned Raisel Iglesias into the demon to end all demons. Right. But yeah, we did it with like no technology. Like what?
It can't be nothing, right?
What do the Yankees have that the Braves don't have, or what do the Braves have that the Yankees don't have? Because the Yankees are obviously great at this. Like, I don't want to downplay that at all.
The Braves are good too, right? So it's like, what's different? But I don't know. I think it will be interesting if Fried does up his whiffs a little bit more.
It'd be really cool,
you know, while retaining his ground ball rates and everything else that he does. I mean, then you're talking about a very real Cy Young.
Now you've made yourself into starter Clay Holmes, which is
pretty much that would be. That exists in real life now too. Yeah,
exactly. I totally see your point, and I do. Ryan Yarbrough today when he signed, I don't know when this episode is going to go up transparently, but when Ryan Yarbrough signed, he said like, yeah, sure, there were other teams that were interested, but I was most interested in the Yankees because of, you know, their track record with pitchers. And I think that certainly says a lot about the operation that they've built with Matt Blake and company. And
you have to think that Tim Hill played a role there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, he saw that and was like, I got to go there. I got to go there. Do you see what they did with this guy?
And I don't know that, like, it would be so hard for me to love a guy who was a Blue Jay and a Ray, but I want to love Ryan Yarbrough.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think they can make me love him.
I think so. I was surprised they signed him until I was looking back at his numbers. I mean, he's always been a weak contact guy. I knew that, but it's the fact that he threw like 90, like he throws a lot of innings. He throws a ton of innings.
I think every year from 2019 to either 2021 or 2022, he led the Rays in innings. Right. And Rays fans kept being like, oh no, he's only there because of injuries. It's like, guys, when he is leading your team in innings every year, you gotta kind of like acknowledge that he's part of the plan.
Right. And there's nothing, he was like their bulk guy. He was kind of the perfect bulk guy. He would go in there, he would get a ton of weak contact and eat innings. And inevitably, because he has so few whiffs, balls are going to start dropping and stuff's going to start happening. But he's going to, over time, he's probably never really going to get like shelled. He just gets so much weak contact. So a very valuable guy to have, especially when your only lefty is Tim Hill. Before that, ironic that their only two lefties are both weird Tim Hill lefties. Basically. That I know. Well, he throws even slower than Tim Hill. He's like 80, crazy, like 86 on his sinker. Like he's like a whole different breed. Yeah.
Cy Young, more like Rye Young Yarbrough. Anyway, this is look. It's my podcast.
You know, it's fine. Yeah, I'm just a guest.
What I want. Reliever of the year.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not pick Devin Williams, right? Yeah. I mean, there's no real other. You could say like Luke Weaver or something, but I'm pretty pessimistic about Luke Weaver right now, actually.
I'm worried about Luke Weaver as well.
I was worried about, I mean, I was talking about him offseason after he had just been amazing. I was already kind of concerned. And then the results in spring, I think, have been fine, but the velocity is down. And the whole thing with him last year was that the velocity kind of suddenly flew up,
showed up.
Yeah. So if he doesn't have that, I think he could still be okay, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't worried about Luke Weaver being ineffective until the velocity was down. Like, sure, he was never going to be as good as he was last year, but someone asked a question about this. I don't know, one of the times that I was on a flight or something, and the answer I gave was like, nothing was weird about Luke Weaver's success last year. Like everything was pretty much
it made sense
or deserved.
Yeah.
So if nothing changes about the characteristics of his pitches, then like he should remain a good pitcher is basically the answer I gave. Well, something appears to have changed about the characteristics of his pitches. And
it's not like over, it's just really the velo's down. I mean, and everything, all the spin and everything is kind of just down along with it. There's just like everything kind of declined a tick in spring.
It's just like he got a little worse.
I would have much rather, if he had been getting shelled in spring, but everything had looked the same, I'd be so much more optimistic right now. He could have been getting blown to Kingdom Come. I don't care. It's the fact that it all looks worse. Like in reverse ways, Fernando Cruz, I'm still pretty optimistic about Fernando Cruz. I know fans are already whining about him because he's gotten shelled a few times in spring. I don't care. That splitter still looks disgusting. The characteristics are still there. I still think he's going to be good. So
for him, it's just the question of like,
stop giving up home runs.
Anything else well enough to allow yourself to throw the splitter and have it be devastating? Yeah.
Well, he hangs one splitter and it's just a meatball too. So you throw it so many times and you miss it. It's just, he's going to strike out 1 million people and give up a lot of home runs. It's just, can you limit those home runs just enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year.
We're not counting Ben Rice, right? Because he's technically not a rookie.
I don't believe Ben Rice is rookie eligible. I also wanted to pick him for this.
So it's got to be Jason, right? I mean, who else would we be looking at? Will Warren?
I'm looking at Will Warren.
I'm going Jason. I can't not. He's a starting left fielder for the New York Yankees. And Will Warren might not make it the whole year in the rotation.
Will Warren is a starting pitcher.
But will he still be a starting pitcher when Schmidt comes back? Do you think it depends on performance, or do you think they already know what they're going to do?
I would be surprised if the rotation spot that Schmidt takes belongs to Will Warren.
Even if Warren doesn't do well?
Yeah, because I think that Will Warren is more capable of doing well over any sample than Carlos Carrasco, and I think the Yankees agree with me.
But once you get rid of Carrasco, Carrasco is gone. You can temporarily get rid of Warren. That's going to be the dynamic.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and it's a fair dynamic. I understand we always talk about, have the best players on the team, and I'm almost always in favor of that. But if losing Carrasco now means some like totally random loser starts pitching games, I mean, that's
the hangers on very rarely last the whole year. It's true. Like,
unless he pitches well. I mean,
unless he pitches well, but I think Will Warren is more likely to pitch well than Carlos Carrasco anyway. So
probably. I also think Carrasco has a better chance to just be average than Warren. There's more risk factor with Warren. Warren could get blown up. We saw what happened to him last year.
Maybe
at multiple levels.
You think that can't happen to Carlos Carrasco? I don't.
I think Carrasco just throws enough strikes and does enough wily veteran crap that he will give you like something.
Maybe. I don't. I'm very
That's a
bullish.
not analytical take.
I'm
at
very
all.
bullish on Will Warren, and
So
I
am
am
I. You know I am. Last
far
episode.
less bullish on Jason Dominguez than you are, which I don't want
Really?
that to be like the tone of
Really?
this episode. But
Interesting.
like, I get very concerned about like the expectations that people are putting on Jason Dominguez. Not you, but like generally, like all the people being like, oh, he has 30-30 potential. Like Jason Dominguez is not going 30-30 this year. If
Probably
he does, that would be awesome. And he's capable of achieving both of those numbers individually at some point in his career, I am sure.
Yeah.
But I just want people to keep some perspective on him. He's 22 years old. He has not played a lot of baseball in the last few years. He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And he has very little major league experience. If he is like a 100 WRC plus player who puts up like 1.7 WAR, everyone on the planet is gonna complain about it. But that's going to be like a totally fine thing for a 22-year-old to do. And it's going to be a major upgrade over what the Yankees got in left field last year. So like, I'm probably going to say some stuff on this podcast that people are going to interpret as Will being a Jason Dominguez hater. And I am absolutely not a Jason Dominguez hater. I will appreciate what a lot of people perceive as an underwhelming Jason Dominguez season more than a lot of those people, if that is the season we get. I also think and I think that's partially because I'm more prepared for that than a lot of people are. Sure. Anyway, I think he's a very reasonable rookie of the year pick. He's, a top prospect in baseball. He has incredible potential. His ceiling is remarkably high. And it would be electric if he's good.
I believe in the tools that will win out over time. I believe in the plate discipline. I believe in the exit velocity, that his barrel skills and everything else. And his speed. I think there's just so many different ways he can supply value. And I also think, and it might be one of my bold takes, but I think he will be a perfectly adequate left fielder, statistically speaking.
I agree with that.
I think fans will complain inevitably because it's already started. He could actually be a positive outfielder next year and fans will still complain.
Yeah, because they've given him the reputation.
Yeah, it's already done. It's too late. He's a bad defender in the eyes of the fans now. It'll take years to overcome what has been done. But yeah, I think he will probably be very close to zero. I think he will be similar to Juan Soto in right field last year. I think it'll be a similar outcome of defensive ability where it's he's not positive out there, but he's not really a negative really either. So that's what I imagine.
That's reasonable. Comeback player of the year, our last award that we will prospectively give.
There weren't many options for this as I was like looking up and down the roster. So I picked kind of the obvious one, which would be Paul Goldschmidt. Which, not coming back for the Yankees. He didn't play for the Yankees last year, but I think he can really, no, he can't only go up, but I mean, I think he will probably go up.
I agree.
I think he got a little unlucky last year. I think that the quality of contact he made was not indicative of the bottom line results. I think the second half numbers were better.
Stuff moved the right direction.
Yeah, it's the lack of walks. I've talked about it before, but even in the second half, it got better, but the shape of his line still did not resemble prime Paul Goldschmidt at all. It resembled somebody who was uber aggressive and winning out on some power, not somebody that was patiently taking any kind of walks. So that still concerns me, but that's the only option I could think of. And I do think he will post an above average WRC plus next year. Yeah,
I think you're right about that. I picked Mark Leiter Jr.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think about that. I picked him as it's a dark horse for reliever of the year too.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of last year, Mark Leiter was getting unlucky. Like when he was with the Cubs, he was a big like ERA FIP split guy. And then he came to the Yankees and did some legitimately bad pitching things.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't want people to confuse those things because a lot of the times I'll point out that a guy is getting unlucky when he is getting unlucky, and then he will do something legitimately bad and people will be like, oh, but he's just getting unlucky, right? And it's like, no, they could be two different. Like when Clay Holmes gave up the walk-off home run in Texas.
Oh, God,
there was like, a week earlier or something, he had like an incredibly hard luck blown save.
Right.
And I had pointed out that like he didn't really do anything wrong. And then people were flooding my mentions in the walk-off home run game being like, oh, but he didn't do anything wrong. Did he? It's like, no, this time he was bad. Like, it's possible to be good one day and bad another day.
This notion that you're like, oh, he's infallible. He never does anything wrong. It's only bad luck. Like,
exactly.
No, nobody is like that.
Yeah. So Mark Leiter had some stretches of bad luck last year. He also had some stretches of like, dude, you should not pitch in that manner. But I just think that like he's too good to be that bad again, and I think he's going to be a very reliable reliever, and I love the way he misses bats. And
he's weird. He's very, very
he is weird. Yeah. And I just think it'd be fun.
Like, I mean, how many people that are that low on the velo spectrum, even though he's in spring, he is throwing a lot, not a lot harder, but harder.
But he is throwing harder.
I think he actually threw the hardest sinker of his career this spring. Yeah. Which is interesting. But but somebody that throws that soft, that gets that many whiffs in Ks, you don't see it that often. I mean, he gets like elite numbers of whiffs in Ks.
Totally.
I mean, he's like,
there was someone I remember, I think it was around the time of the World Series, someone was like, the Yankees were so dumb for trading for Leiter instead of Kopech. And it's like, well, let's look at their numbers at the time they got traded, because Leiter was actually better at everything.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, Kopech's just elite stuff, right? He always has. He's always been that guy. But yeah, I mean, I can see it from just looking at them. Oh, that guy's throwing 102, and you got Leiter giving up home runs, throwing 90 miles an hour. Like, I get the optics of it, but yeah, on paper, like Leiter was getting ridiculously unlucky. And if you believed in the FIP, he was like one of the elite relievers in baseball when we traded for him.
Yeah, he was like top 15 in Fangraphs WAR for relievers at the time, because it's FIP based.
Because it's FIP, yeah.
But yeah, I think he's going to be good. And I think your point about him missing a ridiculous number of bats given his relatively low velo is a good one. Like, yeah, he must be doing something really weird. His pitches must be really effective in some, unusual way. So that's fun. And I think he'll be quite good. I think Goldschmidt is probably a much more reasonable pick, and it will obviously be much more exciting if he delivers on that.
I think it would surprise me if Mark Leiter is bad next year.
I agree.
I really do. It would not surprise me if Goldschmidt's bad next year, just because it's the trajectory of his career. And so honestly, you might have had a better pick in a way there. But
maybe, but like Goldschmidt being good would be a story in a comeback player of the year way. Much more so than Leiter.
Definitely, yeah.
So I think to the extent that there's narrative involved with an award like that, I think Goldschmidt is out to an early lead.
He's probably one of the prime candidates in baseball for a comeback player of the year award. Yeah.
And if we want to talk about encouraging signs with Paul Goldschmidt, the fact that he's been hitting high velocity well in spring is like probably the number one thing to be excited about, because if he kept declining against high velocity, like, put him in a body bag. Like, it's over. Sorry, you're done. But the fact that he's now barreling up 100 miles an hour, righty, like, okay, we can have a conversation about that.
There was somebody on Twitter who, like the first week of spring, posted in-zone contact rates, and Paul Goldschmidt was at like the very bottom of the barrel. And then just recently, Ryan Garcia pulled up that same tweet and put the more recent information, which is he's like actually top of the league now in in-zone contact rates. So, I mean, that's all small sample stuff, either end of it. So, but it's just, there are optimistic signs. I mean, and totally. just the year before last year, 2023, Paul Goldschmidt was really good, like really, really good player.
Do you know of any famous awards he won?
That was the year before that.
Oh, that was 22.
Yeah, it was 22. Yeah.
Whatever. Do you know of any famous awards he won just the year before?
Oh God, I just laughed. I just heard it. I heard Seth Rogen. I did it. Oh no.
Yeah.
Go smack your dad for me next time you see him, Ryan.
That would not be nice.
My whole life is ruined now.
Look, maybe self-awareness is an important quality.
Oh God, it's real. It's a real thing.
Yep, you do. You have a Seth Rogen laugh. And
I asked my girlfriend about it, and she was kind of like, yeah, kind of. I was like, no way. I've never heard this in my life. I've never been told this. People have been lying to me.
Yeah, or sometimes you just need the thing to be pointed out. Like, you never notice it until it's pointed out, and then you see it everywhere.
I feel like I've been walking around with food on my face my whole life, and nobody said anything. It's like, come on, man. Somebody's got to tell me to wipe that off.
Nobody said it's a bad thing. It just is.
It didn't come off like a good thing. I don't know.
Look, I don't think there was any judgment in the statement.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
sure.
sure.
It was just an observation.
I'm not sure. Your dad seems like a judgmental man.
He's certainly judgmental of the position players the Yankees have. That's for sure. So we've each made 3 bold predictions. My first bold prediction is just a wish.
Okay.
And
That's
it
mine
is
too.
that Seiya Suzuki ends up on the Yankees.
Oh, that would be great.
Like
that might mean something bad happened, but that would be great. Yes.
it might mean something bad happened, or it might mean that, well, I guess something bad would be that Giancarlo Stanton isn't coming back this year. But like, look, we need a guy who can hit lefties. Maybe he can play in the outfield a little bit, especially if Dominguez struggles hitting right-handed. He can DH a lot. He's got power. It would definitely mean that something bad happened to the Cubs because they're obviously, built to contend. And
I think they would trade Tucker before they trade Seiya too.
I agree with you. But I just really like him, and knowing the Yankees need could potentially need a right-handed power hitting bat, I was like, look, please. So that's my first.
Can we throw him
prediction.
at third base? Would he just play third base? That would be.
I
lovely.
mean, the Cubs.
Did he used to play the infield a little bit? I thought he did. I might be making.
Did he do that in the major leagues in the United States?
It might have been in Japan.
I don't know. I truly don't know. But the Cubs do be playing guys in the infield and the outfield. Like they did it with Chris Morel. They did it with Chris Bryant. Maybe you have to be named Chris. But I just want Seiya Suzuki to be a Yankee, so I'm trying to put it out into the universe.
I don't see anything about I swear, I think it's just MLB The Show brain rot that they must have had like infield on him on a card at one point or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, no, don't see it.
Anyway, would you like to make a bold prediction?
Oh yeah. So my it's funny looking back at the list. My bold prediction is one that we've already discussed. The first one, which is also a wish, is that Cody Bellinger, yes, posts an over 130 WRC plus and over 5 F4. I literally wrote that down.
It would be beautiful. Everyone would love it. We would all be very happy.
It'd be amazing. And then he'd opt out and we'd probably never see him again.
Yeah.
But, that's what we want to have happen.
If that's what happens.
We want to have happen. Exactly. I love Cody Bellinger. I've wanted him on the Yankees for a long time. And I really hope to God he's only here for 1 year at the same time.
That means everything went really
Everything went well. And I don't really think we should probably mess around with signing him long term. So.
Nope. Cody Bellinger for a lot of his 30s, not something I want to be involved with.
No, not with the volatility he's had. No.
Nope. My second bold prediction is that Ben Rice has the second highest WRC plus on the team, but it's a good thing.
I had the same thing. That was my thought, I think. But anyway.
We've both had that thought.
Sure. Fine. Yeah.
But I think, so first of all, I think we agree on just the excitement around Ben Rice's offensive potential. Yes. There's the elite plate discipline. There's the fact that he's hitting the ball way harder. There's, the park fitting him nicely, as a lefty with pop. But I think the thing that works most in his favor in this case is I don't think Ben Rice is going to face a left-handed pitcher. And when you're suggesting that someone is going to have a really good offensive year, only ever playing with the platoon advantage when you are a platoonable guy is a pretty good way to just tilt the scales in your favor. So I don't know that Ben Rice is going to be the second best offensive player on the team, all things considered, from like an absolute value perspective. But on a rate basis, I could definitely see him having the second highest WRC plus on the team. And I could definitely see that being a good thing. Like that doesn't mean nobody else has a WRC plus above 110.
Yeah. No, I agree. To the point of him platooning, I definitely agree it could help his bottom line next year. Do you worry about that in terms of, do you ever want him to face left-handed pitching in the future? Does that hurt his development? Are you not getting used to facing lefties on a regular basis? I don't know. I mean, I would like to view him as the first baseman in 2026, right? Assuming he plays well this year and everything goes right.
I agree.
So I don't want to be looking at a firmly platoon player. I mean, I have to look at his minor league splits again, but was he that bad against lefties in the minors? I don't think he was.
I'm not sure.
I don't think he was. I don't think he's ever been a guy that's like been super heavy with the platoon splits. So I don't know. I just like his bat so much. I don't want to mess with him in like any way. I want him just to go out there and rake.
Yeah, I would love that. I just think that he's probably going to see,
because of how the team is constructed, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they also don't have a big right-handed bat to turn to right now. So it's not like there's going to be an obvious choice. They might get somebody soon here as spring is winding down. But
like
whoever
Seiya
it is,
Suzuki, for example.
oh yeah, that would be great. But whoever it is, I mean, you might just like Rice more anyway, even though he's left-handed.
Sure.
Like, who cares? You might just like his.
You could sign whoever right-handed Franchi Cordero is, and Ben Rice is probably still the better option.
Probably, yeah.
I did see Franchi Cordero. What did he do? Did he go yard? It was the Orioles home opener. It was on Good Friday in 2023, and Franchi came up. He certainly got an extra base hit. It might have been a home run. And that was, during his brief Linsanity run, which was terrific. Steve, your third bold prediction.
Well, so my second one was also Ben Rice.
That's what you claimed.
Yeah. So I have a couple. So we've already kind of discussed. I think I've discussed every one of my other ones to some degree. So I'll just go. So one of them I had was Mark Leiter Jr. will be better than Luke Weaver, which we've kind of passively discussed. Another one I said is Aaron Judge will be relatively human next year, which I also kind of discussed. And then the last one was the most reach, and you would be very against this one. And this would feed right into your narrative that the over expectations for Jason Dominguez are a little extreme. And I would agree that this last one is the most bold of all the bold predictions. And I don't believe it, but that Jason Dominguez receives down ballot MVP votes and posts at least average metrics in left field.
I love it. I hope that happens.
Me too. I don't believe it'll happen, but it's a hope.
My third bold prediction is that Jason Dominguez hits fewer than 15 home runs.
I don't believe that.
So this is partially my, whatever you called it, dogmatic adherence to Pacoda.
Sure.
And Pacoda is down on him relative to some other systems. They only have him getting 128 games, which, he could play more than that.
Sure.
But they have him in his 80th percentile outcome, hitting 14 home runs. So maybe the argument would be that's not actually that bold. I think it's nonsense too. I think he hits the ball too hard, but I also just kind of have a feeling that he's not going to be like a 25 home run guy this year. And I had
Volpe hit 20 home runs as a rookie, man. The only thing limiting him from getting close to that would be injury or ineffectiveness to the point where they just demote him, which is totally plausible.
Jason Dominguez likes hitting the ball on the ground more than we like to talk about.
True.
That is the basis of this prediction.
I get that. I think it'll come through as he's playing more.
Again, to be clear, I want it to come through. Again, to be clear, I think he can have a perfectly acceptable season hitting 14 home runs, but that's my bold prediction. I am eager to be wrong about it, but I fear I may be right about it. And it wouldn't have been bold to say he's going to hit fewer than 25.
No. I don't think it's I think the over-under is reasonable in a way. I just, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting I don't know. I just look at the barrel rate, man, the hard hit rate, just what he does, and then his discipline, just everything else. I like the swing decisions. I like everything. Against lefties, it's going to be harder if we start getting pelted with lefties. But if he faces right-handed pitching enough, he's going to hit home runs. It's just going to happen.
The ball to go this way instead of that way.
I think you give him a full season on the major league squad where he's going to be figuring things out. It might not be the first month. I mean, the first month you might be doing laps saying I'm right. And,
which is again not how I operate.
I know it's not. But the hypothetical fan that would make that claim would do that. And I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm a believer.
And you know what? I'd rather you be right than me in this case.
There's no fun in taking the pessimistic takes anymore, man. Like things have already gotten so weird. Juan Soto's not here. Garrett Cole's Tommy John surgery. Like, let's just have fun.
All right. Jason Dominguez hits more than 45 home runs. That's my new
Yeah. Yes, I like that over under. Yeah.
All right. Terrific.
Less.
So let's get into some follower and listener questions, and then we'll wrap up with kind of some big picture expectations for the season. First, Danny asked when the episode is going to be up. I don't know, but that's a question we will answer on Twitter, because if we answer it in the episode, then it's useless. The episode is up now. As you are listening to it, I promise the episode is up. Danny, I hope you're enjoying it. From Mr. Donnelly at Mr. Donnelly AZ, how excited are you guys to dive into the new baseball savant data? So they released some really interesting stuff about batting stances and how close to the plate and close to the pitcher guys stand and how that changes throughout their swing and all this really fascinating stuff.
It is.
It doesn't matter what they released, though. Anytime someone says, how excited are you guys to dive into the new baseball savant data? The answer is very. It doesn't matter which it is.
No, they could have just meant like the new season of data coming out.
Exactly.
I'd be like stoked.
Yeah. Yep.
I have to be honest, I don't know what to make of this new stuff we have. Like, I need somebody else to kind of synthesize it a little bit and tell me what to look for.
And Ryan had a good tweet about Aaron Judge. His stance was much more open in April than it was for the rest of the season. And like the minute he closed his stance. Yeah. But I think you kind of have to dive in and just like, oh, you know, this guy's performance changed on a dime. Did anything change in this respect or that respect? Like, I think you have to have something you want to investigate, and then Baseball Savant is loaded up with tools so you can say, I wonder if this had an effect. I wonder if that had an effect.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be the kind of thing where, like, you know, bat speed came out. Or oh, guys with good bat speed, we can look at it. It's not going to be like, oh, guys with that good stance. Right?
Yeah,
like, that's not going to exist. It'll just help you kind of track patterns and performance and stuff like that. So it is interesting. I have not done a deep dive yet, though.
From Post Parm Volpe at Volpe Parm 11. If Anthony Volpe continues to pull the ball, do you think a 110 WRC plus with a 2020 season is possible?
Absolutely.
If Anthony Volpe continues to pull the ball, possible, yes.
But it's the bat speed.
I don't think the key is pulling the ball.
Pulling the ball in the air.
Well, yeah, it's pulling the ball in the air, which I think is what is implied. I think the key is walking.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Volpe sometimes is like, I'm only going to walk 2% of the time. And that makes him so BABIP vulnerable. And even if he hits more home runs than he's tended to during those times, it's like, dude, you need to get on base. Like that's where the stolen bases are going to come from. You can't be a sub 300 OBP guy. And like, in addition to swinging really hard in the playoffs, he also walked a ton.
Walked a lot. He did.
And I think that more than anything else is like the cornerstone that unlocks the rest of Anthony Volpe, because
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Getting Chase happy and then needing to put the ball in play and all this stuff, like be patient enough that you can only swing at pitches you can drive, and the walks will come and the barrels will come. Like, I think that's everything for Volpe for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And if you look back at even like his first month in the big leagues in general, if we remember that, he was walking a lot. That was like the whole thing. He was posting this massive walk rate, and he was swinging really hard. And it was a whole different like foundation. He was like a big time power patience guy, and it was
much more like his minor league profile.
Career. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't quite working yet, but I still firmly believe he kind of just abandoned that too soon.
I agree.
And even one season of data wasn't enough to say it didn't work. Like, he should have just stuck with it. And my guess is he's going to do some kind of hybrid approach next year, where he's, you know, sort of patient and sort of aggressive. And I hope he doesn't get caught somewhere in between is my hope. But to the point about him pulling balls, I mean, if he's, no matter what happens with that, if he is swinging harder and pulling balls in the air more, if his intent is to do more damage, better things will happen, as opposed to the slap version of what he was doing before. Even if he remains really aggressive, I would prefer him be really aggressive with the intent to actually do something when he puts the bat on the ball. But I do agree with you that walks, I think, would be indicative that everything is very legitimate with his approach. If he starts walking more, then it'll be more sustainable.
From Bad Yankee Takes at YankPlane06, thoughts on chicken minis from Chick-fil-A?
Oh, God, I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a long time.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you don't eat anything that tastes good.
I wish I could, but no. I've had chicken minis, I think. They're like breakfast, though, right? I think at one time in college... I
do think of them as more breakfasty because it's more...
I think you can only get them at breakfast. I'm not kidding.
Can you only get them at breakfast?
I vaguely remember one time
in college... It could be that you can only get them at breakfast because they are on the biscuit, like the mini biscuit with the honey rather than the normal
They're
bun.
the tiny biscuits. Yeah. There's a friend of mine who listens to this podcast, too, who we were like up way too late and realized it was almost breakfast time for Chick-fil-A in college, and we went and got chicken minis at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something.
That's awesome.
So that'd be my last experience with Chick-fil-A. So I can confidently say chicken minis are breakfast food.
Yeah,
they're good. They're damn good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think I prefer the chicken minis to the regular Chick-fil-A breakfast biscuit, because I think the full-size biscuit gets too like crumbly and it kind of just like disintegrates. Whereas the chicken minis, I think, have some more structural integrity. Anyway, that's important with a handheld food. Don't laugh.
Man. No, I always think about structural integrity with my handhelds. Always.
You should.
Yeah.
From Rob Sasso at Sasso CT, he has 2 questions here. Assuming an 86 win projection, what odds would you assume for the base case happening, the bear case, call it 75 wins, or the bull case, call it 97 wins?
What are the odds? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I think 75 wins would be a legitimate, like,
that would be an apocalyptic outcome. Honestly.
Yeah, I think that's like second, third percentile.
Yeah, I think that's very unlikely.
And then 97 wins, I think, is more achievable,
but still not likely at all.
But still
honestly,
unlikely. Yeah. But like if it's 2 or 3% for 75, I think it's like
10.
8 or 10, for 97.
Like
Fangraphs has the 25th percentile at 82 and the 75th percentile at 90, which, like, I don't know. And then Rob, to the question about the base case, like, yeah, I think the outcomes are probably clustered around 86. So
I think so.
Much more likely.
Yeah. I think they win at 85 to 92 games. Somewhere in there is like a very reasonable outcome. Yeah,
I agree. And then his second question: how does the ship of Theseus paradox inform your understanding of how a franchise is constructed? Are these guys truly the Yankees, despite not being composed of any players from the original team?
I mean, that could be true of any Yankees team ever. That's just baseball team. That's teams.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the rooting for laundry thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was the whole notion that you take the ship apart, replace it with pieces, and it ends up being,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Are these Babe Ruth's Yankees still? Are these Mickey Mantle's Yankees? I think they still are in a way. I think more than a theoretical ship is in a way, because those players still, they're in the record books. You're still compared against them constantly. You throw the pieces of the ship away, right?
That's an interesting point.
They're gone forever.
I also think an interesting angle to take on this is, like, if you look over a shorter time horizon, maybe call it like a GM's tenure, and there's a consistent philosophy being applied.
Sure. That's a good way of looking at it.
Like, there's not a single player on the Yankees today who was on the 2015 Yankees, for example.
No, yeah.
But, like, it's still the Yankees, and you can see some threads of how they built this team that go back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think I very much come down on, like, yes, we're rooting for laundry, so you can argue that, like, this Yankees team is not really the Yankees, but also that no Yankees team was ever the Yankees.
Right.
But I think they're all the Yankees. That's how I
think
see
so.
it.
Didn't we almost had a question similar to this, not exactly like that, but I ended up going on a tangent kind of similar to it in one of the other podcasts we did. I can't remember what, but
could have been.
In that, like, the Yankees, I still support the Yankees no matter what happens, because I still support every player that ever played for the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
That it's not just about who's on the team. Yeah, except for Chuck. Yeah. But yeah, I think that remains true.
Yeah.
Is that I still root for Derek Jeter,
Sure.
like in a way. I still root for that whole core of team. And I always will. It doesn't matter who's here, who's gone. I think it was in relation probably to losing Juan Soto.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's probably where it came up, because we were very existential, and I made myself think about it again.
Oh, man.
$760 million.
So thanks for that question, Rob. Another from Postparm Volpe: who will be the Linsanity run player this season?
So Linsanity being a player who's not actually good, who is good for a bit. Is that what we're saying?
A short burst of great performance from a guy who probably isn't good.
Could be Carlos Carrasco. Could be Oswaldo Cabrera.
Oswaldo Cabrera is a safe bet. He's like good
that's
for one of those
option.
a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go with him.
Yeah.
From Waleed Harani at Waleed_Harani. What are one of y'all's most optimistic homer takes? Just one. I know y'all are often very level-headed and as rational as possible, but let one take rip.
I have been beating the Cody Bellinger drum this whole piece, and it goes against any real data or evidence that, I mean, there's some stuff, but goes way beyond what any rational take would offer. So Cody Bellinger, over 5 WAR, over 130 WRC plus.
Mine is Austin Wells receives MVP votes.
Ooh, interesting. I see. I am less optimistic about Wells than I think you are. And it has nothing to do with his bat, or it just has everything to do with the fact that he is the catcher.
Yeah.
And
catching is hard and taxing.
It just doesn't seem like many catchers remain offensive powerhouses for very long.
I think like the actual way I would phrase my optimistic homer take is like Austin Wells becomes the American League's William Contreras.
Okay.
Like that is, I think that's like really in the distribution for him.
I feel like he's closer to like a Cal Raleigh type, which would still be amazing. That'd be amazing. But I don't know. I just feel like the bat would break down more like Cal Raleigh with patience and power, good defense.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
From Drew at Drew Clugs. What do the Yankees need to do to win the division? Who needs to perform? What needs to happen at the deadline? What does the front office have to do? Well, Drew, in order to win the division, the Yankees need to win more games than any of the other teams in the division.
This is Yankees Files. Deep takes. I don't know. I mean, a lot of things have to go right.
That's true every year. Like
it is
a
true.
lot of things had to go right last year for the Yankees to win the division.
It's true. I think like you were talking about with your dad, that there are more bets this year.
Yeah,
with players,
for sure.
Right? There are more bets. So a lot of those bets need to pay off. And I think a lot of those bets lean towards the positive side of the coin, but they are still gambles in a way.
Yep.
So those things, Jazz, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Volpe,
but
Dominguez.
This is like to this point and to Drew's question, it's not about who needs to perform. It's about just enough guys performing, you know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be that Jazz has a great year. It just has to be that enough guys have good enough years that it doesn't matter if Jazz has a great year or not. And that is true of every individual player vis-a-vis everyone else, you know?
I think I was saying on a couple episodes that I think there kind of needs to be one player who stands out more from that pack, the non-Aaron Judge group. Somebody needs to post that like 130 WRC plus season. Somebody needs to do it. And I hope it's Bellinger. I hope it's Jazz.
Yeah.
So, maybe all of them would be fantastic.
All of them would be great.
Someone's going to need to do it. I'm putting my chips, obviously, on Cody Bellinger. And I want to reiterate one more time, the data is not there for it. But I'm still hoping for it.
From RJH 2018 at RJH 2018-2, who do you think will have the highest on base percentage besides Aaron Judge?
You could argue Wells. You could argue Rice. You could argue Dominguez, honestly.
You could argue Goldschmidt as well.
Goldschmidt. I just don't know what to make of Goldschmidt's walk rate last year. It really, every time I think of Paul Goldschmidt, I just think about how much his walk rate got like halved last year. And it hurts. It's hard to know what to make of that. So I can't pick him. I would say, wow, but Wells with a batting average hold up. Maybe Wells, maybe Rice, if he gets the playing time to qualify for that kind of thing. Could be Rice, which is scary to think that somebody with that little major league experience is projected to be the second highest OBP guy. This is where the Yankees are lacking.
Yeah,
offensively.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
This is the biggest area that they're lacking, which is one of the reasons I think I dream on Jason a little bit more, because he does have the discipline.
Zips says Goldschmidt, as does the Fangraphs depth chart projection.
They're probably just taking a median or an average of his last 2 seasons.
But they have Dominguez only a point behind. So
okay. Oh, then they're good. They're good projections. And never mind.
It's a hard question. I think there are a lot of guys on the Yankees who I think are going to have like a 320 on base percentage.
Seriously, there's so many 300 to 320 OBP guys on this team, and it is really worrisome, especially when you just lost the king of on base. Like we just lost the ultimate on base guy of this era. He is that guy. So yeah, we didn't replace him with anybody that gets on base. If Cody Bellinger becomes old Cody Bellinger, we could see a higher.
That'd be fun.
He used to walk a lot more. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll do what Rizzo did in 22. He really might.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Be really cool.
That'd be fun.
So, Steve, we're in our last few minutes of the podcast here. Big picture. Talk to me about the way you're anticipating the baseball season writ large. Talk to me about things you're excited to see from the Yankees this year. Talk to me about how you expect things to play out. Just what is it like to be Steve and to have the baseball season starting later this week? Because this is a window we have not gotten to peer through before on this podcast.
Well, I'm like I was telling you before, the girlfriend's out of town for a week, so it's just me here. So I get opening day in the first few games without any distractions or anything, and I'm excited for that. But in terms of the season, I was, like I said in the opening of the show, I was really depressed about Garrett Cole, losing Juan Soto, everything kind of building up. But then it's resulted in this place where commentators talking about the Yankees are almost uniformly saying, oh, they're not even going to go to the playoffs. They're not a good team. They're like the worst team in the AL East and stuff. And I love that. I relish that because it's so not based in fact. It is just not at all based in fact. They are not as good as I would like them to be. They don't project to be as good as I would want them to be. That is true. But they are still, Fangraphs, I think, still has them as the best team in the American League, right?
Yep. That's right.
So
Pacoda's not my friend anymore.
Fair weathered. But so I think they're going to, like, quote unquote, surprise people. Yeah. It'll be fun. It'll be fun watching people be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Yankees are good. And they're going to probably be good. I think they're more likely that they're going to be a good team than a bad team. And there are a lot of young players. It's not relying on old veterans that they hope work out. The bets they're making are on young players that they've been developing or that they've acquired. And that's fun. That's just fun because it's more fun to fail with that. If you're not going to do well, let's not do well with guys we can dream on a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited. I want to watch Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells and Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's not the, like, you turn on opening day and Michael Kay is saying, everyone's 0-0, hope springs eternal, but it's like the specific things that you're excited about. And I agree. I do think this team is going to surpass people's expectations. I think there are a number of guys who are being underestimated and underprojected. I think that there are clear flaws on this team, and those flaws could be fatal.
Could be,
in whatever way you want to interpret that. But I also think there is ample talent and ample potential, and that the Yankees are far better positioned to have a successful season than many people seem to believe at this point. Particularly 100%. To your point about commentators saying basically that they're cooked. It's the hot take right now. It's the hot take. It is. Say the Yankees are, I really thought that last year was going to teach people that the season is not decided in February and March. It didn't. So maybe this season will. That is my sincere hope, at least.
No lessons will be learned amongst the fan base until they win a damn World Series. It's just the truth.
And then they'll learn all the wrong lessons, just like they did in 2009.
Yes, they'll whatever things happened, whatever series of events led to that World Series ring, they will believe that you just have to repeat over and over and over again, whatever it is. So if they somehow win it this year, it'll be like, oh, well, you got to just rely on the kids. You got to just do that.
See what happens when Oswaldo Cabrera is your third baseman.
Yeah. See what happens when you just put your Jason Dominguez in there. See what happens when you have all the homegrown players. Yeah. That's what. Yeah. Okay. You were just clamoring about 09 and how they signed everybody, and that's what you got to do, and how the Dodgers are going to win. Yeah. Preemptively getting mad about something that hasn't happened.
There's that one tweet that's like, Twitter is all about inventing a guy to get mad at and then getting mad at him.
Getting mad at him, yeah. I do that plenty. Yeah, I don't even need Twitter for that. Yeah,
exactly. All right, Steve. Anything else you want to put on the record before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. This is fun.
This was fun.
I'm excited, man. I can't wait for opening day. I'm
Yeah.
really, really pumped. The last like few days, really like realizing it's coming, and just forgetting about Garrett Cole, forgetting about Juan Soto mostly. I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
It's look, and I said this when they lost the World Series. Every baseball season just gives us so much to enjoy.
Yes.
Like, there is a reason that we wait all winter to have this again. And there's a reason that we have a podcast and a Twitter account and a blog. And there's a reason that we talk about this so much and think about it so much. And it's because for everything that baseball does wrong and for all the ways that the Yankees will disappoint us, baseball rules.
It does.
And it's like so good that it is going to be back this week.
It's the best thing ever, man. And every fan knows it. You have fans that will be tweeting every single day about how I hate this damn team. They need to sell it. Cashman sucks, blah, blah. And they're going to watch every single game this year. And they're going to eat it up because it is the ultimate distraction in life, the ultimate thing to watch and do. No other sport even comes close. We got 162 of these things. This is like most of our year here.
It rules. All right, Steve, as you know, we finish every podcast with a 1 to 10 confidence rating in the team.
Oh, God, I hate
Post
this, honestly.
Ryan Yarbrough acquisition.
Oh, well, Ryan Yarbrough. Yeah.
He's a needle mover. Where do you stand?
So you actually changed without anything seemingly happening. Listening to your dad take bad take, you dropped. I think your dad brought you down. You let him affect you a little bit. I was disappointed.
Yeah, it was the environment. I didn't stand my ground.
You did not. No. I mean, I was 7.9. I think that's reasonable. I think I'm going to stay there. I'm going to stay at 7.9. I don't think Yarbrough gets me up to an 8.
But you know what? Yarbrough does get me back up to a 7.9. So there we go.
Let's go.
We're in lockstep going into the season. All right, Steve, any parting shots?
No, I got nothing. I'm excited. Let's go Yankees.
People know they can find us at YankeesFiles.com. They can find everything we do on Twitter as well, where we're at YankeesFiles. Podcasts go up wherever you get your podcasts with the added bonus of video. If you are listening on Spotify, you can also get the whole video podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/@crosstownsports. Steve, it's time to start the season. We will be back sometime, someplace after a few games against the Brewers. And until then, for the first time this regular season, let's go Yankees.